Look at this, we're in an abandoned mine shaft. It's got to be ventilated or you get no air. Yeah, I had to turn up the light somewhere so you can actually see something. Oh man. Oh, it's wet too. Let's get it, boy. I got service down here, guys. Yeah. Oh, it's wet too. 4G. Oh, now I don't. Oh, this sucks. Dude. This is not meant for people our height.
No, that's why they had the China ones. Wow, this is small. It's definitely well reinforced though.
Oh yeah. Wouldn't trust it during an earthquake. Well, shit, it's been here for a while.
Yeah, it's getting watch cold. Definitely a good leg workout.
Ooh. Oh boy. Messed up my beanie.
One back. Get back in here, you should be able to stand up.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is what they call a stope, made up of square set timbering. The miners would build a drift that followed the ore body into what they felt was its origin, and then they would go ahead and they would start to do the mining. Now when they came in here, they had to be able to drill the holes into the ore body so they could plant the explosives, so they could blast it out. So they had started off what they call a jack, blunt on one end, pointed at the other. And the idea was to hold it into the ore face, pound, turn, pound, turn, pound, turn, which they did 8 hours a day until they drilled the holes for the explosions. Now suppose you're working in areas where it's 130 degrees, there's a lot of dust and a lot of residue from the explosives, and so you can understand it was a very hazardous way to make a living. Now, if one person operated, it was called a single jack. If two people operated, it was called a double jack. If three people operated it, it was a government project. Now, they had to turn the drill for two reasons. Number one, if they didn't, the drill would get stuck, right? The other problem was that powder monkey was a very disagreeable person. He was condescending, he was self-righteous, he was a know-it-all, he had a rotten personality, and he was antisocial, and he got his exercise by jumping to conclusions and flying off the handle. And so they needed him in a mine because they had to have somebody to serve as a bad example. And he wanted to make sure that those holes were perfectly round. And the reason is, when he blasted, he didn't want to hear a big kaboom. He wanted to shear off layers like slicing cheese, because he wanted to blast just enough to put it in the ore carts and take out. If he gouged out too much, he increased the risk of a cave-in. Right? Now, for light, we had a candle. Now, why just a candle? Because anything else it brought in here could contain a gas, carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. So a candle was the safest way to operate until such time as they invented the carbide lantern about 1900. So a light, you wouldn't think, would give that much light until you find it's the only light you have. And now I can make out your facial features. But once your eyes get used to the dark, that's quite adequate to be working that ore face. But if you're on a deeper part of the mine where you're having to deal with all those other elements, now your candle goes out. Now you find yourself in total darkness, and truly you cannot see your hand in front of your face. That's what they had to deal with. So it's not a very good place to work. But as I said, they were the highest paid miners in the world. They were making $4 a day, opposed to mines in other parts of the world only making 70 cents a day. Now, the main shaft of this mine was 1,640 feet. It was outside. This drift we kept open because it was closest to the surface. And so what they did, anything that came down into the deeper parts of the mine had to come down through what they call a hoist works, like an elevator, powered by a steam engine at the top. Everything that came into this mine had to come down through that hoist, whether it be material, timber, equipment, machinery, miners themselves, all had to come down through that main shaft. And that was powered by conveyor. Well, anything else subsequent to that had to be dug by hand. So hence, gentlemen and ladies, I'm going to show you a shaft, opposed to giving you a shaft. This 200 feet across the country. This shaft one time was 200 feet deep. Accessed by a ladder, they had to get up by hand to see the scores of timbering. They went down 200 feet where they found the ore body they were looking for. Then they would build a drift into it, build up a stope, and then they would go ahead and mine it. Now, once they blasted it out, they would put it into a large bucket. Hence, we have a large bucket. Okay? And that bucket was pulled by a cable to this winch that you see here. After 1870, it was powered by compressed air. Now, you wouldn't think compressed air would have that much power. But by golly, they do. And the reason is you've heard the expression that necessity is the mother of invention. Greed is the mother of invention. Trust me. So, we would pull it. Now, the winch operator would be standing by there. And so he had to know when it was time to bring up the ore that they loaded into that bucket. So they had called bell signals. And so a large rope was connected to this bell. And then when they were ready to bring it up, you heard 3 bells. All right, Jake, bring her on up. Bring it up, get to this location. 1 bell, and it would be dumped into the ore carts, which were taken out into an ore tipple, which stored the ore until such time it could be loaded into the railroad cars or the wagons to take them to the stamp mills along the Carson River. Then if you heard 2 bells, that was, all right, you dirt lizards, you better get out of the way because we're about ready to lower this bucket. And if you get hit by this bucket, it's going to be your fault. Or Woods, maybe. Okay, now, what if you heard? I have searched far and wide to come up with a word to describe that. I've heard, oh shit, all kinds of stuff. But what I settled on was 2 unwords. 2 unwords like in uh-oh. You cannot use uh-oh in any way that's possible. You're in the middle of the Nevada desert where the air hasn't been used yet, and even rattlesnakes carry canteens. And your car goes clunk, clunk, clunk. Look under the hood. You, uh-oh. You're laying in your hospital bed. You don't have to worry about it. You're young. You're laying in a hospital bed, and physicians listen to your heart, and suddenly his eyes get big as saucers, and he goes, uh-oh. And that's bad, and that ain't good. And that's bad, and that ain't good. And that's not good, and that's bad. Right? Now, 39 miners lost their lives in an underground fire at the eastern extent of the Yellow Jacket mine in 1869. All but 5 were recovered. So there's still 5 entombed down there. Do you believe in ghosts? You ever seen a ghost? How about you, Pard? You ever seen a ghost?
Not that I know of now.
I haven't either. But I got some skeletons in my closet we're not going to discuss. Okay, now, Once they were to get compressed air into the mines, now instead of that piece of steel with a hammer, they incorporated into called a jackblade drill. Here we have two of them. Jackblade drill powered by compressed air. And what they did is they made the job a lot faster and a lot easier, but not necessarily safer because mining, as you know, is inherently dangerous. They also had a water hose connected to it. That helped to keep the dust down, because one of the biggest diseases, one of the worst things that will happen to a miner up here, came down with a disease called consumption. It was a nasty form of emphysema because of all the dust, the residue from the explosion, the silica, and everything else. And so a miner, if he lived to be 35 years old, he was considered an old miner because he eventually would suffocate to death. Okay? Now, powder monkey would come up after those holes were drilled, and then he would check them over and he'd load them. Prior to 1868, he used black powder. What did he use after 1868? What did Nobel invent?
Dynamite.
You got it. Thank you. Load those holes. Now, he didn't want to hear a big kaboom. He wanted to hear each individual hole, because if he and so he would cut those fuses in such a way where they would blast into a domino effect. And so he would load the fuses, he'd go around the corner, and he'd wait. Suppose he loaded 10 holes. Stand by, stand by, stand by. Fire in a hole. Boom, 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 boom. 10 holes. Stop and listen. Look around the corner. 10 holes. All clear. But every once in a while, maybe he miscounted. Maybe he thought he heard 10 holes, but it was only 9. God bless it. No pun intended. Was that 10 holes? Was that 9? Could have sworn that was 10. I'll be a horse's batui. So I can look around. Just as that 10th fuse got to the 10th hole. Boom! What do you think his last words were? Not good, and that's bad. All right, now, what were they looking for? They were looking for gold. And when they first came up here, they found it. Placer gold. They took it up off the ground. Once they identified that ore fault, then it was, here we go. But so they were also running into this other substance. They had no idea what it was, except it was causing them a lot of problems. It was almost like it was a byproduct of the gold mining, and so it was considered tailings, it was considered waste. So they had this stuff all over the place, okay? Until somebody out of curiosity took some of that blue-gray muck down to Nevada City, California to have it assayed. Well, guess what? Nope, pardon me, sir.
Yeah.
It assayed out at $100 a ton in pure grade silver. And lady and gentlemen, that's what it looks like. That's raw silver.
That right there.
Silver.
Where the candles
Oh.
mounted.
Yep. See the vein?
Oh yeah.
See how?
Oh yeah.
Over here we got some copper, we got some zinc, and maybe a lot of mineralization. But that's silver. Silver, gentlemen and ladies.
That's crazy.
Silver. The silver that goes into a ring that a woman puts on her hand when she gets married, and the same silver that she gives her husband in the form of a ring that she places in his nose. Silver. Silver.
Wow.
Now,
Actually seen the ore.
we had this assayed. It looks like just in this pocket we have about 1,000 ounces. Silver. So now, should we reopen the mine?
Yeah.
What do you think, guys?
I think you should preserve it.
Or if we don't reopen it, why? Well, I'll tell you. See, this young lady here is from North Carolina. They got a lot of money in the South. So what I want you to do, young lady, I know it's going to be chump change, but I want you to give me $5 million. Chump change, I know. No, and with that $5 billion, I'm going to mine that for you, just for you. So that means now I've come under the preview of the Mining Health and Safety Administration. So that first $1 million you're going to spend on permits, okay? And that's going to take 1 to 2 years. Now we got the permits. Now we're going to mine it out. Now we have to bring in a geologist, an assayist. We have to bring in a safety engineer. we have to bring in specialized equipment, and we have to bring in the people that can operate it. Okay, now we're going to mine it out. Now we're going to put it into a large pile called a leach pile. And for the first 48 hours, we're going to soak it real good with water. After that, we're going to add a solution of 75% water, 25% cyanide. And that's going to trickle down and percolate down through that leach pile. And a gold and silver, which is microscopic, is going to latch onto it. And it's going to go into what we call a pregnant pond. We call it a pregnant pond because it contains the gold and the silver. Now we're going to pump it up into a tank, and we're going to take out all the oxygen, suck all the oxygen right out of it. And what that does, allows the cyanide to become inert, so we can use it again. That stuff is expensive. And then from there, we're going to put it into another tank, and we're going to take out all the impurities. Anything in there that's not gold and silver is coming out. Now, we're going to take it down, and we're going to put it into a retort oven, where we're going to cook it at 2,500 degrees. What that's going to do is burn off any mercury that's in it, which we are going to reclaim in a waste disposal facility. Now we got something that's heavy, it's got some weight to it. Now we're going to add some flux, maybe some borax, depending on what the refiner wants. And now we're going to take it down to the Florida Canyon Mine in Winnemucca, Nevada. And this time we're going to put it into an oven, and we're going to melt it, 3,500 degrees. It's going to burn it. We're going to pour off the slag and pull that molten gold and silver into what we call a dory. Meanwhile, and so when the canary would go drop dead, they knew it was time to leave. Well, here they didn't have that problem, but they had to have some way of knowing there was a problem inside the mine. So they had this guy. Rats. Now, if you know your history, you'll know that rats have killed more people in this world than all the world wars combined because of a flea that carried bubonic plague, decimated Europe. Well, here, they saved lives. Why? Because they could smell smoke before there was a fire. They could sense the ground movement if there was a case of a cave-in. And for that reason, if there was a problem, they'd be heading for the door, just like rats leaving a sinking ship. And so, that's why. And so they used to feed them out of their lunch boxes, give them snacks throughout the day, have birthday parties for the youngsters when they were born. Because it was always a contest to see who was going to get out first. It could be the miners or the rats. That's smart, $7.50. Any questions? We were known as the richest place on earth up here because we were. $400 million in gold and silver taken out of these mines. In today's market, that would be $1.5 trillion. So the ramifications of all this mining up here was felt throughout every world market in the world. So much so in 1873, the Comstock saturated the market with so much silver it caused a worldwide depression. And it didn't rebound until 2 years later. Wow. So when there was a hiccup inside one of these mines, every world market was listening for it. That's how significant it was up here. And now we keep this one open so people like you can come in here and get a sense of what it must have been like back in 1875, clean right up to the turn of the century. And we'll tell you that we, Nevada collectively, is still the third largest producer of gold throughout the entire world. We're third only to Russia and China. Newmont over in the eastern part of the state on the Carlin Trend near Elko, last year created 12 million ounces of gold. So we're still significant as a mining state. And because for every ounce of gold that was found in here, there were 10 ounces of silver. Back then, silver was $6 an ounce. Gold was $20 an ounce. Okay, so that $6 or that $6 an ounce silver, every ore cart that came out of here contained 1,000 ounces of silver, or $6 an ounce. And so the volume was in the silver. And that's why we're known as the Silver State.
Very interesting.
Any questions? No. In that case, I hope you enjoyed your tour. I would suggest, and you're up here for the day? All you guys up here for the day? There's two other venues that I think you should take. The railroad, that will take you.
it gets nice and tight in some spots, huh?
Mm-hmm. Ooh. I keep grabbing my beam. Ooh. There it is. Oh, that was gonna hurt. Whew.